Hold
on.
Good.
Sorry, guys.
But I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you give me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them.
What?
Oh my God!
Wow,
man! In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award. Rock on, Gibby.
And even no way! Oh my God!
Welcome to Sports Weekly, and I'm Lauro Antonio along with Isaiah Leung and Taylor Ogata. Chardol has been dealing with tech issues, so we'll get to him when he gets back on. So, fellas, how's it going tonight?
It's going well, guys. Glad to be on another show of Sports Weekly, man. You know, I'm well rested, energized for this show.
Taylor, how's it going?
It's going good, Lauro. I'm in a hotel because I'm at a journalism convention near Universal Studios Hollywood, but it's good to be on the road.
Oh, and I'm doing great as well. You know, I'm well energized, well rested. Can't wait to do this show, man. And it's going to be a fun program. Lots of stuff to talk about. So cannot wait.
All right. So we were dealing with, Chardol's not with us. So anyways, let's start with our breaking news segment here, is that the Angels have begun to listen to trade offers for superstar DH and pitcher Shohei Ohtani. Although chances of a trade remain slim, my take on this is that I think that the Angels are going to give Shohei Ohtani a monster contract. I think that Shohei is going to want to. I think that the Angels love Shohei, and I think that the Angels will keep Shohei for the long run. And I just don't see the Angels losing a player like that. I'll start with you, Taylor. Do you think that Shohei Ohtani is going to remain an Angel for life?
I have a feeling he just might, because even though while the Angels are having now Isaiah is having technical problems, but as I think I have a feeling he's probably the new heart and soul of the Angels. I don't think he would ever want to leave Anaheim because he's not only is he a good two-way star, I think he's probably going to do what. Well, I don't know if Babe Ruth was a Yankee all his career, but I think Ohtani is definitely going to stay with the Angels for hopefully his entire career. But I think he's definitely going to. No, he's not going anywhere for a while, at least.
What about you, Isaiah? What are your thoughts on this whole Shohei Ohtani trade rumors thing? And I just don't think that he's going to leave. I don't think the Angels will trade him. I think it would be foolish for the Angels to do that.
My thoughts on it is boom! The trade deadline just got even more crazier, man. Like, when has there ever been a trade deadline where we see Juan Soto, one of the greatest players to ever play the game of Major League Baseball, be on the market at 23 years of age? And now we have Shohei Ohtani, a guy that can pitch well, that can hit extremely well. He's going to be on the market as well, as the Angels are listening in on trade offers. You know, Taylor, you're probably going to hate me for saying this because you're an Angels fan, but I honestly think with the way the Angels are going and with Shohei being a free agent after the 2023 season, I really think your Angels should trade him because I think you guys would get a monster haul back. You know, it would help you guys expedite your rebuild and help you guys reload your farm system, you know, get more pitchers, get more depth, get more talent that can help you guys win later on. And it would also help you guys get so much more than you guys will if Shohei Ohtani does walk. You know, it will help you guys get something in return for Ohtani, because I honestly don't think Ohtani will stay in Anaheim after next season. So you might as well try to get what you can get right now. So I'm not surprised the Angels are listening. Do I think he's going to get traded? No, I think he's going to, if he does get traded, it's going to be at in the winter, because I think that Ohtani trade is kind of like Kevin Durant, where it's like super, super complicated and there's a lot of pieces to make it work. And with the trade deadline only like 3-4 days away, you know, it's really, really tough to get like the full package you could get for Shohei Ohtani right now. So I don't think he's going to get traded now, but I think he's definitely going to get traded at the trade deadline. But in terms of teams that could deal for him, you know, I know a lot of people are mentioning Seattle with the Mariners, but I just don't see it because I don't think the Angels would want to trade Ohtani within the division. I don't think the Angels would really want to trade Ohtani within the AL as well. So judging by those circumstances, it leads to the NL teams. And what NL team can go out and get Shohei Ohtani? I think teams like the Mets, teams like, you know, Chardot's Giants, who were a finalist to get Ohtani back when he was coming from Japan, and even the Phillies. I think the Phillies, Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies should strike right now for Shohei Ohtani. And the reason why, it's because Ohtani fills a lot of needs for the Phillies. You know, they needed another left-handed power bat. There you go. They need a guy who can come in and pitch. They need pitching help. There you go. Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies should absolutely strike right now for Shohei Ohtani if he is definitely available. But I think Ohtani will end up not being traded at the deadline. I think he'll be traded in the offseason, and I think he will end up being traded to a team in the National League just because the Angels don't want to face him so many times a year.
And what about you, Shardo? What is your whole thoughts about the Shohei Ohtani trade rumors here?
I don't think that the Los Angeles Angels are going to trade Shohei Ohtani. I think it will be absolutely ridiculous if they made that move and decide to do that. But I think he's going to stay with his Angels team, and I agree with Isaiah. He might be traded in the offseason, but he's not going to be traded. He's not going to be dealt at the trade deadline.
Absolutely. So, anyways, with that being said, here we have comments from Casey King, as he says, "Good evening, guys." And I don't see Shohei Ohtani getting traded at the trade deadline. I think the Angels will try to extend him and in the offseason and get it done. That's what Casey King says. And he says, now if they don't get a deal done in the offseason and they continue to struggle to come next year's trade deadline, then I could see them moving him, but we'll see what happens. So I think, Casey, I think the Angels are going to extend Otani. I just don't see the Angels trading a player that caliber just because he's kind of literally the guy that's been doing everything for the Angels, such as offensively or defensively. But anyways, the Angels just lost to the Texas Rangers just now. So anyways, I mean, I see Taylor already shaking his head for that. But anyways, now I'll talk some basketball here. As the Boston Celtics have engaged with the Brooklyn Nets over the last several weeks, and according to Adrian Wojnarowski, they have emerged as a serious contender in the Kevin Durant trade sweepstakes. And also reports that came out on Monday morning that that Boston has offered a package that would send Jaylen Brown, Derek White, draft picks to Brooklyn, in which Brooklyn have turned down and countered with Marcus Smart being involved in the deal. Do I think is going to happen? Do I think Jaylen Brown should be centered in that package? No, because I think Boston should keep Jaylen Brown. You build this team around Jason Tatum, and I think that the Boston Celtics shouldn't even trade Jaylen Brown. So, Isaiah, I mean, I know that the Celtics are rumored to trade Jaylen Brown if they landed Kevin Durant. I don't see the Celtics now trading Kevin Durant now with this story here.
Loro, I disagree with you. I think the Boston Celtics should absolutely do this deal. And the reason why, it's because you have a team right now that is ready to win a championship. You have a team that just went to the NBA Finals, and the reason why they lost is because they ran out of gas, and I felt like they ran out of offensive firepower to compete with the Golden State Warriors. And they finally started bringing in some more firepower and offense by bringing in Malcolm Brogdon, who is a very, very underrated offensive basketball player and a really well-rounded basketball player in general. And I think that if you add Kevin Durant, yes, you're going to be losing Jaylen Brown, but this is Kevin Durant we're talking about. This is a guy who is one of the greatest basketball players we've ever seen. And this is a guy that, right now, he's a top 3 player in all of basketball, and he would definitely help you get over the top if you want to win your 18th NBA championship. So I applaud Brad Stevens, and I applaud the Boston Celtics for going all in. Because a lot of these teams, always be like, oh, I'm going to save my draft picks. I'm going to save my young players because I'm going to save them for what happens 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. You have a team ready to win now. You should go all in, put all your chips in the middle of the table and go all in to win now, because chances like this happening is very slim all the time. And you don't always get, this type of good young core that you have. So I think the Celtics should absolutely trade Jaylen Brown and picks and Derek White and even Marcus Smart, because I think if you get Kevin Durant and you get maybe one more player like a Seth Curry or Joe Harris as a throw-in player, plus you already have Malcolm Brogdon and you have Jason Tatum and Peyton Pritchard and all those guys, and with Ime Udoka's fantastic coaching, I think the Boston Celtics would be the favorites to win the NBA Finals if they did land Kevin Durant. And I think that, if they did get KD, KD and Tatum, they would play with each other very well. They would not fight with each other because they both have played alongside each other at Team USA, so they know how to play together. So I love this trade for the Boston Celtics. If it does happen, I think the Celtics should definitely do this trade. As a Laker fan, it sickens me to say this, but Boston should go all in. They should go all in since, these cores that you have, these young cores, other teams have had it. They've tried it in the past. Look at the Suns, Chris Paul and Devin Booker and all those guys, the young core. And guess what? They went to the finals last year. They had a chance to go all in. They didn't, and then they fell apart. Other teams have had these young cores. Look at the Clippers, with CP3, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. They had a chance to go all in, but they didn't. And guess what? They ended up not winning. So Boston should learn from those teams' mistakes, and they should go all in. They should absolutely go all in and try to win a championship right now by landing Kevin Durant. Laurel, I don't know if we can't hear you, buddy.
And we want to, before we get to Ben here, so Anyways, you answered the question as Isaiah. Do you think Boston will be better with KD and without? Okay. So what I'm saying is that Isaiah, so do you think that Boston would be better with KD and without Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, or worse without them?
I think they would be better offensively, but I think defensively they might be a little bit worse. But I think they could score enough points to get over that defensive hurdle. You know, if you get Kevin Durant, you get one of the
Go ahead,
top
Isaiah.
players in all of basketball, and you get a guy who is going to.
We'll go to Ben here. So Ben, what is your? We lost Isaiah. So, Ben, welcome to the show here. What is your reaction to the Celtics offering Jaylen Brown to the Nets for Kevin Durant? And also, do you think Boston will be better with KD and without Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, or worse without them?
Yeah, so first of all, good evening, guys. Hope you all are doing good on this fine Thursday, now Friday here. But yeah, when I saw that tweet, of course, earlier in the week regarding Kevin Durant and the Boston Celtics, I I really didn't know how to feel about that. Of course, you know, anytime you really kind of see a big time top 3 player get connected with the team, you automatically just go crazy. But to remember, Adrian Wojnarowski was the first one to break this news at like 2:30 my time in the morning. So like, I literally just like I couldn't go back to sleep after seeing that. But you know, I woke up that morning and I kind of some more about that. And you know, as much as I would love him to be part of Boston and part of the city and stuff like that, you know, just because you know this team really made a lot of strides last year. Of course, you know, maybe need that big time star along with Jason Tatum to get to the top, but I think they're going to be perfectly fine to keep Jaylen Brown. I don't want Jaylen Brown to go. This is the only way that we would get a big time star like a Kevin Durant. And I get like, you know, in order to gain, you're going to have to lose a guy like that. So I personally don't think it will happen. I think Brad Stevens really likes Jaylen Brown. I think Jason Tatum likes Jaylen Brown. They actually asked Jason Tatum this week how he feels about the team going into next year, and he says he really likes the team and kind of where they are. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying Kevin Durant's a bad player. I love Kevin Durant. He's a great player. I just think that we have something really going for us, a very young youth type of team. A couple guys like a Malcolm Brogdon who could really help us in our backcourt, and then of course get a couple of role players to help us as well too. So as much as the great dream of Kevin Durant kind of landing in Boston be nothing but spectacular, I just don't see it happening. Personally, for me, I think it's better off to just keep Jaylen Brown and really kind of keep this duo going, because I do think that we can get to the top and win a championship with this two core. I mean, a lot of people, you know, pretty much proved them wrong last year, and look what happened. They were 11 seed. A lot of people thought they were going to split together, and they made strides over the course of the next couple months. Of course, it really, I know Isaiah's not here, but really, you know, his take of oh, hello, Isaiah. Speaking of your take regarding the splitting of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I'm actually talking about that right now. So just the overall old take exposed from the great Isaiah Leon about how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum should be broken up, how this team's not a pretender. And now we're seeing about Kevin Durant essentially being in talks with the Boston Celtics. So there's something going right now with this team. And so Isaiah, as I was telling the other people, I don't think that Kevin Durant should be coming to Boston as much as I love, because I think we have got something good for us going on right now. We got a great core, got a really good coach, a great GM in Brad Stevens. I just don't see it happening, and I think Kevin Durant is going to really take a big time offer for him, and nobody's giving the best offer at all for him. So I would love to have Kevin Durant in Boston, but I don't see it happening.
Anyways, Ben, before we get to Chardol and Taylor on this, what is your thoughts about Shohei Ohtani potentially being on the trade market, even though that his chances of being traded is very slim right now?
Yeah, I personally think that the MLB's really kind of turning into a lot of the NBA in terms of a lot of stars, kind of going to maybe different places. But I really would hope that as much as Taylor's Angels, have had some tough luck this year. Don't worry, my Red Sox have had the same way. I do feel that Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout definitely deserve maybe just a change overall. I know that Shohei Ohtani has had some trouble with the team like the Yankees before pitching there. He's definitely had a hard time with the bright lights in New York, but he plays for a big market in LA, and he does pretty well there too. So, I know that the Mets have checked in on actually on Shohei, because apparently Billy Epler was the one that actually helped recruit him in when Epler was there in Anaheim. So I think that's a very big long shot for any team right now to get Shohei. But I do think that there is a potential chance we might see Shohei leave after this season, this offseason, at least entertain some calls, because they wouldn't be just essentially John Heyman's just a reporter that doesn't spare news out just to spare news out. He definitely understands that something's going on with that team. Maybe they need something just different. Maybe they have to kind of go starting youth. But I think personally, if I had to, um, if I had to pick, I think Shohei Ohtani stays in Anaheim because I think personally it's he's kind of the spotlight right now. I mean, if he goes somewhere else like the Dodgers or something like that, sure, I'll get the spotlight. But, the Angels really are a team that doesn't have a lot outside of Trout and Ohtani, so they kind of have to kind of be looked as the big stars there. And, it would be kind of cool to see the Angels, get much better over the next couple of years if they add some very good pitching, maybe. That way that them and the Dodgers definitely can kind of maybe get a rivalry back up and going there. So, can I see it happening? Sure. I do think that there's a very big realistic chance that we might see Shohei Ohtani on the block this offseason. But my realistic self is I think he's going to stay.
You're absolutely right about that. But anyways, we're going to go to Taylor here and talk about Kevin Durant. So do you think that the trade could happen? Do you think the Celtics could be better off without Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is definitely, if this happens, this is definitely going to be a blockbuster. But Kevin Durant, it seems the trade seems fair if you were to swap those players, KD for say Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart. The trade it looks fair on paper, but in reality, I honestly don't. Well, like Isaiah said, and I think Ben said this too. There is a little bit of chemistry between KD and Marcus Smart, I think, or was it Jaylen Brown? But because whoever he played with on Team USA, so it could happen. And at the same time, though, it would be a blockbuster. Although if Durant does leave Brooklyn, then that I think puts a little bit more pressure on, say, Kyrie Irving if he doesn't get traded, which I kind of believe in. I think you might know this, Isaiah. He says he's staying in. Kyrie is kind of staying in Brooklyn whether KD leaves or not. So it doesn't look like he's going to be going to your Lakers, but I think with Durant, as far as his status is concerned, I think he's probably going to be a Brooklyn Net for at least another season at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics actually pulled the trigger on this, because I think while the Celtics are making every effort to win that 18th championship, Durant probably he may or may not be that guy to pursue. So, while Loro leaves, what's your thoughts, Chardol?
Looks like everybody's having tech issues at the moment, but
I'm
um,
I'm really interested in this Kevin Durant and Jalen Brown trade. I think it's gonna be an absolute blockbuster. It would be kind of interesting, but I would love to see Kevin Durant play on the Celtics because he would bring them their 18 championship. And that would be pretty interesting to see if that trade does go down.
yeah, I think for sure it definitely would be very interesting to see what happens. But since Laurel's gone right now, I'm going to take over the hosting duties. And we did have a couple comments that did come in. Our, you know, our guy Ishmael, he tunes in. He says, "Good evening, fellas. Thank you, Ishmael, for tuning in." Ishmael also says, "I think the Kevin Durant trade happens because I think Boston is now in a lose-lose proposition after this leak." Laurel, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. So, anyways, I'm going to ask Chardol this. So, what are your thoughts on potentially Kevin Durant going to Boston? And what are your and do you think Boston would be better with Katie and without Jalen Brown and Marcus Smart?
So I think I would really be interested to see Kevin Durant come to the Boston Celtics because him and Jason Tatum had a really great relationship when he was playing for Team USA in the Olympics. And it would be really, really surprising if this trade eventually does go down and it stuns many people to find out that he would be now playing for the Celtics and not the Brooklyn Nets.
All right. So, anyways, with that being said here, now we will move on to our next topic here in the NBA. So the Suns have inked head coach Monty Williams to a multi-year contract extension on Tuesday. Williams, in 3 years leading Devin Booker and the Suns, have led Phoenix to a Western Conference title, an NBA Finals appearance, and also the best record in the Western Conference this past season. I think this was a good move for Phoenix. I think he has done great things for this franchise, and I think that you're going to see him be good leading this team in the long run. I'm going to start with you, Isaiah. What are your thoughts on this move for the Phoenix Suns?
This was a no-brainer for the Phoenix Suns because as much as I want Devin Booker to go to the Lakers, the Phoenix Suns have been one of the best teams in the NBA the last 3 years. And it started in the bubble. It started what happened in the bubble when they went on like 8-0 and near playoffs in that Western Conference that year. It was like just extremely, extremely crazy. And Monty Williams is a great communicator. He's a great coach, and he's definitely been better the second time around as a head coach after not being so great with the New Orleans Hornets / the New Orleans Pelicans. And Devin Booker loves him. Chris Paul. Players love him. That's why Kevin Durant reportedly wants to go to Phoenix. It's because of Monty Williams. So I think that for the Phoenix Suns, this is a great move.
Anyways, with that being said here, Ben, what are your thoughts on Monty Williams getting a contract extension?
Yeah, so I know that Isaiah was talking about it, but yeah, Monty Williams is a very good coach. He does really well with a lot of his teammates there, and he gets a lot of high praise. I know that when the Suns lost the Bucks in the finals last year or the year before, sorry, a lot of Buck fans were really appreciative of what he did for that team, and he's just a very good coach. He's kept the Suns relevant for the last several years. He's going to keep them relevant for years to come. With a lot of great talent, of course, Booker and DeAndre Ayton, and a lot of good players around him, and just the utmost level of respect. He even went to congratulate the Bucks after they won the championship. So that says a lot about his pedigree and a lot of his character. So it's a fantastic move. It's a very smart move for the team, the franchise, and I think the Suns are going to keep on pushing to try to get a championship.
Yeah, you're right. They definitely are going to continue to keep pushing there. That's for sure. So, anyways, now we'll go to Taylor here. What is your thoughts on Monty Williams getting a contract extension?
Oh, no doubt about it. He has definitely been so far the best coach that the Phoenix Suns have had in a long time. And ever since who I think I forgot who was coaching during the Steve Nash era, but definitely in this current era, Monty Williams is the man in the desert. Um, so to give him a new contract is definitely the right move on the part of the Phoenix Suns, because he knows what he's doing, and the players seem to buy into his systems each and every night, and he's just that kind of coach that every player on his team respects, and you just have to say that he's probably made this Phoenix Suns team even better.
All right. So, anyways, we'll go to Chardot. What is your thoughts on Monty Williams being getting an extension with the Phoenix Suns, as he will continue to be their next head coach for the foreseeable future?
I think Monty Williams is a great head coach for the Phoenix Suns. He's led this team to many successful runs. And I think he has a great demeanor when he congratulated the Milwaukee Bucks after they won the NBA championship. So it says a lot about this man and what he's going to do for this franchise in the coming years.
Oh, of course, you're absolutely right about that. But anyways, here, now we'll go back to Isaiah here. Did you have something to add about Monty Williams?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my internet keeps just going in and out, so I'm on my phone now, so that hopefully this works. But my thoughts on it was, I think it was a great move for the Suns. I think it was a move that they had to make because Monty Williams is a great coach, and he's led the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals, Western Conference title. He led them to 8-0 in the bubble. He led them to the best record in the Western Conference. This man can coach, and Devin Booker loves him. Chris Paul loves him. Even Kevin Durant says the reason why he wants to go to Phoenix is because of Monty Williams. So the Phoenix Suns would be stupid not to keep Monty Williams around. He's a great coach, and I think that the Phoenix Suns are lucky to have him. And remember, the Phoenix Suns were terrible before Monty Williams came in, and he came in and completely revamped the culture around the Suns. So I think this is a great move by the Phoenix Suns.
Definitely is. You're sure right about that. But anyways, Ben, did you give your thoughts on Monty Williams?
Yes, I did.
All right. Anyways, let's go on and talk some football here. As today, the Seattle Seahawks locked in star wideout DK Metcalf on Thursday, as they signed him to a massive 3-year extension worth $72 million with $58.2 million in guarantees. So my thoughts on this is that I think DK Metcalf is going to be a big part of this Seattle Seahawks future at receiver, along with Tyler Lockett. But who's going to be the starting quarterback? From what I'm hearing, Geno Smith is leading the quarterback race over Drew Lock, but I think it should be Drew Lock that starts over Geno Smith. Isaiah, what is your thoughts on DK Metcalf getting an extension?
My thought is that I thought that I'm surprised that he didn't get more money, because I thought that with Devontae Adams getting $26 million, Tyreek Hill getting $27 million, and Terry McLaurin getting somewhere north of that, I thought that DK Metcalf was going to get 28, 29, or maybe even 30 million and continue to get the wide receiver market climb even further. So with him getting only 24 million and him lacking behind Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin and even Tyreek Hill, I'm surprised that he didn't get more money than he got. And also my second thought is that my guy Drew Lock just got a great weapon to surround him for years to come. For a quarterback to look good, they have to have great weapons. And, Tom Brady showed that back when he was with the Patriots his final year. He didn't have the best of weapons, so he didn't really look that good. You're only as good as how your weapons are. So, and I'm glad that, they are keeping him around, because the next quarterback, either it's Drew Lock, Geno Smith, or whomever it is, they will be able to look good with the weapons that they have on the offensive side of the ball. So they have him locked in. I also wouldn't be shocked, though, if he did get traded after this, because a lot of teams were uncertain if he was going to hold out. But now that he's getting $24 million is a steal for a lot of teams that they don't have to pay top-notch money for a wide receiver. So I would not be shocked if DK gets traded still and Seattle gets like a massive haul in return. But overall, I think this is a steal for the Seahawks. I thought he was going to get way more money than he got in his new extension than the $24 million that he got.
Yeah, you're absolutely right here. So, I mean, I think that this is good for the Seahawks here. Ben, what is your input on it?
Yeah, the extension for DK Metcalf, if you look kind of at that draft class, of course, Isaiah's buddy Debo still holding out right now, even though he's at camp. Probably signs are going to be pointing to John Lynch getting on the phone and paying him as well. But for this guy, DK Metcalf is an absolute stud. The Seahawks essentially are going to pay now for the next 3-4 years, and to be that true number one for whoever the next quarterback's going to be for their franchise. So he's overall greatly built. I've always wanted him, and I'm always salty about the Patriots drafting N'Keal Harry over Deebo Samuel or DK Metcalf. So obviously it's good for DK and to get his payday. And of course, Terry McLaurin also got extended a couple of months ago too. So you kind of seen a lot of these guys that are asking for the money, and it's all about paying them. So DK finally got paid, and all the trade speculation potentially maybe of him going somewhere else is long gone, and he is now a Seahawk for life.
And what about you, Taylor and Chardol? I'll start with Chardol first. What is your thoughts on DK Metcalf remaining in Seattle and getting that new contract in Seattle? Chardol? Hello? I'll go to Taylor. What is your thoughts on DK Metcalf getting a contract extension?
Well, DK Metcalf, double-digit touchdowns in each of his last 2 campaigns and a Pro Bowl appearance in 2020. He is definitely he's a heck of a player for the Seahawks, and for him to get this contract extension is definitely a major victory for the Seahawks. When he entered the NFL in 2019, he had according to the article on NFL.com that I'm looking at, 58 catches for 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. And of course, this is definitely what he needed because it was the final year of his rookie contract and extension. He definitely got what he deserved at this point in time. As far as for him to have a new quarterback now that Russell Wilson is gone and also linebacker Bobby Wagner is gone too, it could be like Isaiah mentioned with Geno Smith and Drew Lock, it's probably going to be Geno Smith at this point, but hopefully as they have a promising future with the wide receiver with DK Metcalf locked up for another 3 years.
I'm going to go back to Chardol on this one. I mean, I know you were muted here. What was your takeaways on DK Metcalf getting an extension with the Seattle Seahawks?
I think it stunned many people when they heard that DK Metcalf signed to a 3-year extension worth $72 million with the $58.2 million guarantees. I think he's brought so much success to the Seahawks team under head coach Pete Carroll, and him and Drew Lock will be a very strong duo in 2022.
Oh, of course. I think this is going to be a great duo. I mean, Lock and Metcalf and Lockett, that's going to be great for Seattle here. But anyways, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed wide receiver Julio Jones to a 1-year deal to give Tom Brady another major weapon. So my thoughts on this is that, Tom Brady likes playing with old receivers. He also likes playing with young ones as well. Ben, you and I both love TB12, and he gets to play. He has Julio Jones as his teammate here. What are your thoughts?
Oh, Ben, I think you're muted, man.
Sorry, I was just getting some water. Hold on one sec. Yes. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers got richer by getting Julio Jones. Now, people could say now, yeah, he's washed. He's not the same guy he used to be, which is very true. He's not the same guy he used to be. But the biggest thing about the Buccaneers that I'm very worried about is their offensive line. And now the biggest blow today from the Bucs training camp was center Ryan Jensen. Jensen had a very signature knee injury, which I don't know if he put in the notes today for tonight's show, but the wide receiver, of course, with Julio Jones he used to be such a great guy, a great player. And so as much as I love TB12 and with the receivers that they have, it's going to be very interesting to see how he does with this kind of beat up offensive line. You take away Jensen now, who could be out potentially for the year. They're going to have to really have receivers step up and have some like quick routes or something. Julio's going to be like the number 3 or 4. They have Godwin, they still have Evans. They also added Russell Gage from Atlanta. So I think personally Brady saw this as an opportunity for a guy that might not be the same guy he used to be, and to just give him some bets. I mean, which, they look at Brady in the past years with New England. You would call up a guy like a Danny Amendola or Chris Hogan. Guys that I know obviously they're not the same guy like Julio Jones is, but if Brady kind of sees this, as an opportunity, I know that he was with Jason Light in terms of looking at for Kyle Rudolph after Gronk retired. So I think this is a very good move for Tampa Bay. Of course, it's just now worrisome to kind of see now who will Brady protect because, of course, Ali Marpet retired, and now Jensen, of course, had a big injury that is very significant according to some sources.
And then I'm going to go to you, Isaiah. What is your thoughts on Julio Jones joining Tom Brady in Tampa?
This is an absolute steal. It's an absolute steal, and I'm extremely pissed off that more teams and even my Niners didn't go after Julio Jones. Julio Jones, like Ben said, yeah, he might be not what he once was. He might be older than before, but this dude can still ball. And I think that I would not be shocked if Julio Jones ends up with like 10 to 15 touchdowns this upcoming season because of all the weapons that Tampa has. And think about this. He's going to be going up against your third best cornerback or your fourth best quarterback. Like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they're going to get all the attention, even Russell Gage, because Russell Gage is a very underrated wide receiver. So it leaves Julio Jones, who, this dude has put up historic numbers throughout his entire career. And, now with Tom Brady throwing him the football, playing in a pass-heavy offense, I think it's really going to benefit him. And, he's going to go back, I think, to being the Julio Jones of old. And I won't be surprised if he racks up over 1,000 yards in receiving and also 10 to 15 touchdowns, since you're going to go up against fourth-string corners. You're going to be one-on-one most of the time. You're probably going to be playing in the slot a lot. So it's really going to benefit him. So this is an absolute steal by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They continue to get richer, like Ben said. And, here's the thing. I'm tired of the disrespect that Julio Jones keeps getting. I liken Julio Jones to being the Kevin Durant of the NFL. Like, this dude has put up historic numbers throughout his entire career. Yes, he might not be as young as he was in the past, but this dude can still ball. And the fact of the matter that he is only getting 1 year minimum contract, it's truly disrespectful, and it's a slap in the face to him. And it's just like, with the Durant situation, like not a lot of teams are going after Durant as aggressively because they are worried about his age and they want to protect their future. Like, are you kidding me? This is Kevin Durant we're talking about. This is Julio Jones we're talking about, man. And the fact that nobody wants to sign him to even a deal worth more than the veteran minimum. It's truly disrespectful, and I'm sickened by it, and I'm sickened that the Niners didn't come up and got him, because imagine if you have Debo and you have Brandon Ayuk and you have Julio Jones as your number 3. I mean, this guy is a number 1 being your number 3. It would be absolutely insane. And I know people out there are talking about how he's washed up and how he only had 439 yards receiving last year. He was playing in an offense that was run heavy. You know, they would give the ball to Derrick Henry a lot, and, you know, the wide receivers were kind of like an afterthought. So I think him playing in Tampa, he's going to reestablish himself as that great wide receiver that he is.
And I just said one thing to piggyback on Isaiah's thought. Isaiah, before I go back, is I do agree with Julio Jones. You know, I'm not saying he's going to go up. You know, obviously that's a crazy take about hot take with yours, Isaiah, which I like, is the 10 or 15 touchdowns. But I do think that like 5 or 6 touchdowns. I am still very worried about his injury past as of right now. But if you get at least a good like 10 games of Julio Jones, and the biggest thing about Julio Jones is he's not going to give you the attitude problem of a guy like Antonio Brownwell, right? So Tampa Bay, you know, very is pass heavy. Of course, now without Bruce Arians still, working the phones and, you know, being the head coach now with them, which is going to be very weird to see. But they're still going to be run by the same type of offense with Byron Leftwich. So I do think that when it comes to the red zone opportunities for Brady, you get Julio, you put him out there and give that big body. It's going to be like, you know, pick your poison for that Buccaneers, the defense that the Buccaneers are facing. So I think it's going to be a big steal. It's pretty much a low risk, high reward. And that's something that Brady's done great over the course of his career, is finding guys like that. So we'll see. I really like Julio. I want him to do well. And of course, you know, with him with Brady, it should be a lot of fun, especially this could be, you know, potentially Brady's last year.
Definitely could be, but I'm going to go to Chardol here. What is your thoughts on Julio Jones joining the Tampa Bay Bucks and playing with Tom Brady? And what's kind of cool is he gets to face his Falcons twice now.
As a San Francisco 49ers fan, it really stuns me when he decided to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to pair up with Tom Brady. But I wish him good luck on his new team, and hopefully can bring some talent to this Bucks team in the upcoming 2022 to 2023 season.
And what about you, Taylor? What is your thoughts on Julio Jones joining the Tampa Bay Bucks?
Well, for just that long, for just one season and minimum amount, I'll say it's a steal for the Buccaneers, but you know, he's only going to be there for 1 year, and who knows where he's going to go next. But I think for right now, he and Tom Brady will probably be a dynamic duo, just like and you probably remember this, Chardol. I remember it too back in the day for the Niners, Steve Young and Jerry Rice. Tom Brady and Julio Jones just might be the new Steve Young and Jerry Rice, because they if they develop chemistry together, then this Buccaneers team is definitely going to be dangerous. So.
Definitely is going to be dangerous. You're absolutely right. I mean, comments from Ish Lancaster. He says, good evening to you all. Sorry, it's not pulling up here. And he thinks Kevin Durant could come to Boston. I mean, he says SMH on Twitter. I mean, and he says that if Brown is already mad, I think it happens because I think Boston is in a win now mode or a lose pro position after this leaked. If they don't, then Brown is already mad that this is being that he's being shopped after he posted SMH on Twitter. And I think that it would ruin chemistry now. And Christy Wilson also says this season for the Bucks should be interesting. So some interesting takes from our viewers from our viewers here. So anyways, now we'll talk about during the press conference on Wednesday to kick off training camp, 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan put an end on any speculation about a potential quarterback controversy and in San Francisco and declared that this is Trey Lance's team and said that the Niners have moved on to Trey Lance. Am I surprised about Kyle Shanahan saying that? I think you know what? It's this time. I think that I'm excited about what Trey Lance is going to bring to the San Francisco 49ers at quarterback. Isaiah is very happy about this because he's going to be yelling Trey area all the time now. Every time he scores in the end zone, as you know, Greg Papa, the Niners radio announcer, is going to say Trey area, touchdown San Francisco. So, Isaiah, I'll go to you first. Are you surprised about Trey Lance being the starter early in training camp? And are you excited about seeing him be a part of this team going forward?
You know, I'm a little bit surprised, and here's why. Because everybody knew in the back of their minds that it's going to be Trey Lance. It's going to be the Trey Lance show, and the Bay Area is going to be Trey area. But Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, you know, they've been very coy about it. They've always just said, like, we'll see what happens, or, you know, it's going to be a competition. I think Taylor and Chardot can second what I'm about to say. You know, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have never really directly said that Trey Lance was going to be the starter. It's just been like, we're going to have a competition, or we'll see, or Trey has to earn it, or stuff like that. And so for them to actually directly say that Trey Lance is the starter, and how Kyle Shanahan said, he didn't say like, softly that Trey Lance is going to be the starter. He like emphatically said that this is Trey Lance's show. It kind of does surprise me. I thought that they were going to remain coy with that fact and not announce it until week 1 of the regular season. But, man, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I'm ready to roll. It's the Trey Lance show, and, you know, I can't wait to watch him in the preseason. I think that, you know, the offensive line for the Niners is a little bit of a concern. I think the defense is going to be great. The wide receivers are going to be good. Debo, if he comes back, hopefully soon, with Ayuk and all the other guys that they have, I think they're going to be good. But I think that Trey Lance adds something to the Niners that they didn't have, and that is a quarterback who can run, a quarterback that can stretch the defense with his legs and throw on the run. He's extremely accurate at throwing on the run, and I think that's going to be very beneficial to the Niners. So I cannot wait for the Trey Lance show, and well, here we go, man. It's time to get ready to roll because Kyle Shanahan put an end to all the potential quarterback controversy, and there's not going to be any distractions come training camp time for the 49ers.
What about you, Ben? What is your thoughts on Trey Lance now being the starter in San Fran? Are you surprised about Kyle Shanahan declaring Trey Lance the starting quarterback?
No, not at all. I think personally, Jimmy Garoppolo's really had a good run there, but I do think that they want to go young. And I think that they kind of saw a little showcase last year of what Trey Young was able to give them. And I do think that the only way for him to get developing reps is to go on to him and really kind of be shown as the true top 5 pick that they drafted. So I think that Jimmy G is going to try to find a place where he can be successful to play in, or, you know, they're going to just try to hold on to him and maybe be a backup, you know, or try to figure something out, you know, internally to move him to a place where he can play. So I think this is a very good thing for the Niners. I think that the Niners know this both on and off the field. And I think Lance, you know, is very excited to kind of get going and kind of run the show and be a part of maybe something special down the road for this Niners team.
What about you, Taylor? What is your thoughts on Trey Lance being the starter?
Yeah, this is definitely his time to shine because Shanahan made it clear that, you know, they've moved on from Jimmy G. They couldn't trade him, unfortunately, because he was injured. But this is definitely Trey Lance's time in the spotlight. And this is his time to prove himself, of course. So, you know, I definitely think that it was no surprise, although while he is battling it out with Coy, I'm pretty sure that Trey Lance is definitely going to win this battle for the first string quarterback.
What about you, Chardot, resident 49er fan here? What is your thoughts on Trey Lance now being the starter and Kyle Shanahan ending speculation on this whole quarterback debacle.
So I'm not surprised that Trey Lance was named the starter for the 49ers at training camp, and after keeping it coy. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's season here in San Francisco is over, and it's time for the Trey Lance show, because Trey Lance has to come in and show what he has to prove after playing in North Dakota State, winning the FCS national championship in 2019. So he has lots of stuff under his belt. And he's not afraid to prove the haters wrong when he steps on that field and shows all the doubters that he's here to play football.
You're absolutely right about that, Chardol. So anyways, after a day of chaos and turmoil, the Arizona Cardinals have removed a 4-hour per week independent study clause from QB Kyler Murray's $230.5 million contract. I didn't think they should have included that in the first place. Kyler Murray is the guy going forward. I mean, Isaiah, this is definitely a quick reaction to this.
I think the Cardinals bowed down to pressure. I think they saw all over social media how everybody was, talking trash about Kyler Murray, bringing up all this nonsense drama that the Cardinals started by putting that in that deal, and somehow it got leaked. And all this drama just unfolded. So I think they bowed down to the pressure. I think they didn't really want to do it. I think they just did it because they just didn't want everybody to start talking bad about Kyler Murray and does he really not like football, and starting all that drama.
What about you, Taylor? What is your thoughts on this Kyler Murray independent study removal?
Oh, it definitely takes a lot of pressure off of him, because it's a study material provided by himself. I think it's just easier for him to study by the team, study just material that the team gives him, rather than if it was, it's just easier. It just takes a lot of pressure off of his shoulders. He expressed his dismay because I think they said he was a student of the game. I think he kind of still is, because this is only his second year. He's got a lot to learn, but there's just the independent study clause as part of his contract is definitely I think it kind of puts a little too much pressure on him, and to remove it definitely eliminates some of that.
What about you, Chardol? What is your thoughts on this Kyler Murray?
I agree when
independent study clause.
When they remove this 4-week independent study clause, I think this does take loads off of Kyler Murray in a way, like what Taylor was just saying. I totally agree with his comment, but I think it does take off some stuff off of him.
Anyways, now with that being said here, we'll go to Ben here. What is your thoughts on the independent study clause from Kyler Murray's $230.5 million contract?
I mean, if it's going to be a big part for his contract, of course you kind of have to figure out the logistics of it and making sure that none of it gets out of hand before training camp.
All right. Anyways, now, folks, we're going to go on to some baseball. Here's the Yankees kickoff trade deadline week by acquiring Andrew Benintendi from the Royals in exchange for prospect Chandler Chaplin, Beckway, and TJ Skilma. I mean, Ben, I'll start with you. I mean, Andrew Benintendi is now playing for your division rival New York Yankees, and he's now on the other side of the Yankees and Red Sox rivalry. I think this was a good move for the Yankees. I think the Yankees should consider signing him be part of their roster next season. And what are your thoughts overall on this move?
It's been a really tough last couple of weeks to myself being a Sox fan. And, I'm just thinking to myself, can it get any worse? Has it hit rock bottom? And it has. But to see a good old friend of mine, Andrew Benintendi from the 2018 Red Sox, it was interesting because a lot of Twitter is very, and they're like, oh, he was okay, A lot of people from Boston are just like, yeah, we appreciate him, but I am pretty upset that I have to see him now. Out if it's only for Rentham, but on the other side, in pinstripes. Of course I do love him. I do wish the best of luck for him and the Yankees, but it just does not look. It doesn't feel right for me. I was even watching it tonight and seeing how he was doing. I'm just like, what am I seeing here? But no, I'm really happy for him in all due respect, and it'll be very interesting to see how the ovation is when he comes to Boston in a couple weeks. And even though that the series won't be crazy much at stake as maybe it could be, but yeah, I'm a little salty. I guess you could say a little disappointed, little, a lot of mixed emotions. But I wish him the best of luck in all due respect.
All right, let's go to Isaiah here. What is your thoughts on Andrew Benintendi going to the Boston Red Sox?
Well, Ben, how you're feeling right now is how I feel every time I watch Matt Chapman play for the Toronto Blue Jays. My eyes literally sting when I see Chapman in a Blue Jays uniform, because it's not supposed to be that way, Like, why is Matt Chapman wearing a Blue Jays jersey when he was supposed
what
to
about
be?
what about you, Taylor? What is your thoughts on Andrew Benintendi going to the Boston to the New York Yankees?
Oh, Benintendi, after all the numbers he put up with the Royals, I think the Royals, are kind of, well, they are being sellers, of course. To send him to a playoff contender like the Yankees, he'll probably be another, that the third part in addition to Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Benintendi can also hit. May not be quite at the level as, say, Judge or Stanton, but he can definitely hit. But as for the Yankees, they've been known as the evil empire for many years because they've had the highest payroll, and I think Benintendi was one of the highest paid players on the Royals at the time. So this is definitely going to be one of the biggest moves that the Yankees have made this season.
And I'm going to go back to you, Isaiah. We lost you for a minute here. Did you have one more thought here on Benintendi?
Yeah, like I was saying, how Ben feels about Benintendi being a Yankee is how I feel every time Matt Chapman is a Toronto Blue Jay. My eyes literally sting when I watch Matt Chapman in a Blue Jays uniform, because it's not supposed to be that way. He's supposed to be an Oakland A's lifer for life. But about the Benintendi thing, I think it's a good pickup by the Yankees, because Benintendi is different from Joey Gallo in the way that Gallo is power, and strikeout. That's it. He doesn't get on base. He doesn't hit for average. Benintendi is a consistent average hitter who's going to get on base. Doesn't have the power as Gallo, but he's a guy that can lead off, get on base, and also is a great fielder in the outfield. So I love the move for the New York Yankees. I wish my Phillies got him, but it's a great move for the Yankees as they go into the stretch run, and I think Benintendi will help them a lot moving forward.
What about you, Chardol? What is your thoughts on Benintendi to the Yankees?
I think this was a great acquisition for the New York Yankees to sign outfielder Andrew Benintendi from to the Kansas City Royals. I think he'll bring lots of loads to this team as they lead in the AL East with a record of 67 wins and 33 losses. And I wish him best of luck in the upcoming MLB season.
All right. So anyways, folks, now we are going to move on to some other news about Juan Soto. As Hector Gomez is reporting that the Padres are in serious talks with the Nationals to acquire superstar Juan Soto. The talks reportedly intensified last night, and the Padres put forth significant on the table for Soto. I think Juan Soto is going to be a Padre. I don't think he's going to wear Dodger blue here. So I'm going to go to Taylor on this one. Where do you see Juan Soto? do you think that he will be a San Diego Padre either at the deadline or in the offseason?
I say he's probably going to San Diego at the deadline because the Padres are probably going. This is the reigning home run derby winner after he dethroned Pete Alonso, who was bidding for a three-peat. And as if the Padres, if Fernando Tatis doesn't come back, Juan Soto can definitely take over the spotlight. It'll be him, Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, and Luke Voigt, and maybe even Jurickson Profar as well. This lineup will be stacked. Even if Tatis does come back, or even if he doesn't, I should say, the Padres are definitely going to have a lot of offensive power, and Juan Soto can definitely bring that power to this ball club. And the Padres will probably be back in the postseason for the first time since they won the NL West back in 2005.
Well, they're going to be back in the postseason since 2020, since they got swept by the Dodgers in the NLDS here. What are your thoughts, Isaiah, where Juan Soto will land? I predicted San Diego for Juan Soto.
The Padres are coming for your Dodgers, Loro. I hate to say that, but if they get Juan Soto, dude, oh my gosh, you guys better watch out because that NL West race, it's going to be super, super tight if Juan Soto ends up going to the Padres. Because like Taylor said, they're going to have so much offensive firepower with Machado. Tatis is coming back. You have Soto. You add him to the mix. You have Cronenworth, Grisham. The pitching's been great all season. The bullpen's been pretty good. And you have a competent manager in Bob Melvin. So I think this is a move by A.J. Preller and the Padres signaling that they're coming for the Dodgers, and not just for this year, but for years to come. So I think the Dodgers, they need to put out an aggressive package for Juan Soto, because if they don't, the Padres get him, it will mean major ramifications for the NL West and the NL for years to come.
Well, I still think the Dodgers are the better team in the NL West, even if the Padres get Juan Soto, because I think the Dodgers pitching is going to shut out the San Diego lineup. But I just think that with Juan Soto in San Diego, it's definitely going to give the Dodgers quite a challenge. But at the same time, Isaiah, I just think that the Dodgers are the better team in that division.
I think starting pitching wise, you could say that, but I think if you compare lineups, the Dodgers and the Padres, if Juan Soto does go to the Padres, then I think that you could make a case that the Padres have the better lineup because they have Soto, they have Machado, they have Tatis, Eric Hosmer, Will Myers, Trent Grisham, Cronenworth, Ha-Seong Kim as well. Like, they have a pretty stacked lineup, and that's going to be a great, great battle in the NL West for years to come if Soto does, in fact, end up in San Diego.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So, anyways, now with that being said here, folks, anyways, with that being said here, now we'll talk about we'll go to Chardol here. Where do you think Juan Soto will land?
I would love to see Juan Soto play for the San Diego Padres, and he could team up with Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Jake Cronenworth, and Jurickson Profar, and he would bring lots of talent to this Padres team in the upcoming season.
Yeah. So, what else were you saying?
That's all.
And Ben, did you give your take on Juan Soto?
I've not.
So
I'm
where do you
actually
think he'll
go-
go? I think he's going to be a Padre. What about you?
I'm actually going to go different because all of you have said Padres. I think there's a very good chance you can go to the St. Louis Cardinals. I really do. I think that the Cardinals have a very good package for him. I think that the Cardinals are in a position where they kind of see this opportunity. Obviously you have Goldie, you have Arenado, and if you had a guy like Juan Soto in that lineup, I think that really just strengthens out a very good lineup that the Cardinals have going for them. The Cardinals, of course, are doing very good this season. And I think that, the Padres have a very good chance to get him as well too. I'm not counting that out, but just for entertainment purposes on this, show tonight, I want to go Cardinals and make a very good case that they're only 3 back for the division against Milwaukee, and of course they're within the wild card race. So I would be really curious to see if Juan Soto actually goes to St. Louis.
All right. And what about you, Taylor? Did you say you said Juan Soto to San Diego?
Yes, I did.
All right. I mean, I don't know where Isaiah is. I mean, so talk about the Oakland Athletics defeating the Houston Astros Wednesday 4-3 to complete a 3-game sweep of the Astros. And that's the first team sweep of the Houston Astros this series. As a Dodger fan, that makes me want to laugh because the Houston Astros lost to a lowly Oakland Athletics team. I wanted to laugh so hard at this just because you lose to the A's without Chappie, without Olsen, without Manaea. Why did the Astros do this? I mean, Isaiah has a lot to say on this. I mean, I don't know where he is right now. Isaiah, what is your overall take on the Oakland A's sweeping the Houston Astros?
Well, I came in just in time. My thoughts on it is how about Sean Murphy, Nick Allen, and those upstart A's, man. I know our season has been absolute rubbish this entire year, and I know, it's been terrible to work for the A's this season because it's just not been fun because we keep losing, we keep getting blown out. But this is probably the sweetest moment of the year. I don't care what we do the rest of the year. We just swept the Astros. We swept our heated rivals, a team that is in first place. And it just shows you, man, that anything can happen in the game of baseball. Like, we sent out 3 of our pitchers that aren't really that good. Frankie Montas was, I believe, the first game. And then we had Adam Aller, who has been awful this entire year. And then we had Cole Irvin, I think it was yesterday. But the offense really picked up. Guys like Tony Kemp, guys like Sean Murphy, guys like Ramon Laureano, Chad Pinder, they all stepped up and they all went mashing this entire series, and the bullpen surprisingly held up. But man, I was jumping for joy yesterday. I felt like I won the World Series yesterday after we swept Houston, because our season has been terrible. Our season has been downright rotten, but this was probably the sweetest moment, and I'm so glad that even though I wasn't working for the A's because I was working at the airport for Alaska Airlines yesterday, it was so sweet just to be able to watch that final out and to be able to say, hey, we were the first and only team thus far to sweep the Houston Astros this season. So I absolutely loved it.
You're doing something,
All
right?
Exactly.
Chardol, I'm going to go to you. What's your thoughts on the Oakland A's sweeping the Houston Astros?
The Oakland A's pulled off the 3-game sweep against the Houston Astros, getting the 4-3 win. I've never seen anything like this before, and this is definitely the sweetest moment for any A's fan to experience.
And
I wanted to have an ice cream sundae with a cherry on top after the win because this was the greatest thing you could ever have.
What about you, Taylor? What is your thoughts on the Oakland A's sweeping the Houston Astros? That made me want to laugh.
Me too. If you're the best team and you lose to a team that's at the other end of the spectrum, oh man, that's just oh boy. The A's were that's a major upset, because especially when we're all chasing the Astros in the AL West, especially for teams like my Angels, and the fact that you just defeated a juggernaut. Oh my goodness. That's definitely you're in a big, I don't know what to say. You're definitely you gotta love it, because you just defeated a juggernaut that, everyone's chasing them. This is the step towards dethroning them.
That might be. And Ben, what is your thoughts on Oakland, the Oakland A's sweeping Houston?
Well, there's a fine line that the great Susan Waldman, even though she's a Yankee reporter, um, she's pretty much, she always say, "That's baseball, Susan." And this is, of course, one moment where, of course, a team like Houston, which seems pretty much almost unbeatable against a team that pretty much, no offense, Isaiah, has a fan base where half the fans show up and somehow maybe no fans at all, maybe hurt because it seems like with the Astros, they play a lot better when there's a huge crowd and they're just hearing the boos and stuff like that. I mean, now for the A's, there's like half the people there. Maybe they're just like, oh, we'll just go and play. And but, as I see the comment there, yeah. I mean, I wish it's a sad thing for the A's, but the A's at this point are just like, what do we got to lose? That's the fun part. Even though it's sometimes for a team or a team that's in last place or a team that's, of course, selling, just go out there, have fun, and of course, especially against your in division, to go out there and sweep. I mean, that's great. That's of course a great thing, especially because I don't really like the Astros. But the really impressive thing about this series is you kind of look and the A's pitching staff actually really held their own against a very good lineup. In the first game, they gave up 5 runs, which of course isn't bad at all. But the last 2 games, they gave up a span of 5 runs combined. For the A's specifically, their pitching staff for the most part has been an absolute mess. And for them to actually show out, and yes, I know it's hard to kind of take one series, but that's a really good job from the A's pitching staff. The A's too, I think, are going to probably have a couple of guys to look out for in the trading market. So, of course, it's a very good kind of showcase to kind of see for other teams, how they can do it, especially against the top talent. Look at a guy like Lou Trevino. He could be a very good guy potentially out there on the market for a team in need of a reliever, and those getting up there in age. The Tampa Bay Rays might look at a guy like a Sean Murphy, a guy that's had some hard times with a guy that definitely can go out and maybe be a good backup for a team that's in need. Seth Brown. Seth Brown, I think, could be a very decent first baseman for a contending team as well. So this not only was a really good, showcase for, the A's fans, but it's also a good showcase for some guys that could be out there on the market as well. Of course, another guy to look out for too, is Ramon Laureano outside of Montas. So I think that was one really important thing to kind of watch. Isaiah, I know that, of course, you with the A's. I got a question for you specifically. I know that, the A's are going to be selling down the road. What pieces would you like for the A's to hold on to? And then what are some pieces that maybe do you feel that they should just be like just blow it up and just get rid of the key pieces? Or do you feel like that they should keep, hold on to some key pieces for them and kind of build up for them and try to build up for the future here?
Well, Ben, I think that Sean Murphy is a piece that I think I really want the A's to hold on to because, I mean, he's got 3 years left of team control. And I think if the A's trade him, it would be stupid because he's on a cheap contract. He's only making, I believe, like $700,000. And he's a really good catcher. He won a Gold Glove. He's a really good hitter as well. And those type of catchers don't really come out of the farm system a lot nowadays. And so I would really want the A's to keep him. Ramon Laureano is another guy because he's got 3 years left of team control as well. Frankie Montas, I think you can trade him because he's a free agent after next year, and I don't really see Oakland keeping him and re-signing him to a new contract. And I think as far as other guys are concerned, I think Murphy, Laureano, and probably Nick Allen because, he's got 6 years of control left. There's no way you trade him. If you trade him, you would be absolutely dumb to do it because he's your future shortstop. He's the guy that's going to be manning the middle of your infield for years to come. So those are the guys I would hold on to. The rest, I would entertain trading him or trading them. Lou Trevino, like you said, Ben, he reminds me a lot of Santiago Casilla with the Giants. I mean, this dude, when he comes in a pitch, it's like, oh my gosh, man, I keep having a heart attack when he comes in because it's like he always gets like the bases loaded and 1 out or runner at second and third with 2 outs, and you have to try to pitch out of a jam. Like,
he can go because he gets into too many jams and he's like really unreliable.
All right, folks. So that being said, we're going to talk about our final two topics of the night before we call it a night. So the Tigers have made everybody on their roster, including prized long-term pieces, available via trade. Tiger stud left-hander Tariq Skubal, who has been dazzling this season and is under a cheap contract through 2026 and is available as well. The Giants have lost 7 in a row, and after getting swept in a 3-game set by the lowly Diamondbacks in the desert and have fallen below 500, but they're just 3 games back of the final wild card spot in the National League. So let's talk about questions here. So I'm going to start with Chardol. So, I mean, we'll get your take on Tariq Skubal in just a little bit here. So, do you think San Francisco should be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? I think they should still be buyers, just because I think that they're going to still be right in the thick of things in this race.
I think the San Francisco 49ers should be buyers because at this point they still have a lot of players.
Giants, sorry.
I think the San Francisco Giants are having have lost 7 in a row. They're not looking so great. And I just want them to break this losing streak and get back on the winning track, because that's what I like to see as a Giants fan. I just like to see this team be successful every single year.
And what about you, Isaiah? I mean, we'll get to Isaiah in a minute, but anyways, where do you think Tariq Skubal will be traded?
I think Tariq Skubal is an absolute stud for the Detroit Tigers, and he would add loads of talent to this team, playing alongside players such as Miguel Cabrera, Javier Baez, Austin Meadows, and Tucker Barnhart.
All right, I'm going to go to Isaiah here. So, where do you think the Tigers should trade Tariq Skubal? I don't think they should. They should build their next winning team around him, but also, do you think San Francisco should be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline?
All right, so I'm going to tackle the Tigers question first. You know how just like last segment, I was so happy about my A's and I was so thrilled and saying this was the sweetest moment of the year. Well, Detroit for me has probably been the most bitter moment of my year thus far, because I think Ben, Loro, and Taylor and Chardot, you guys all probably know this. When we did our MLB preview show before the year, and there's a video out there. There's a video of Ben like shaking his head and putting his or giving me the face palm. But I picked Detroit to win the AL Central. I said AJ Hinch and his Detroit Tigers were gonna shock the world and win the AL Central, and instead they're in like dead last right now. And I believe they're like 25 games under 500, and it's been an absolute terrible pick. It's even worse than all the other picks that I've made, like the Jaguars pick. But the Detroit Tigers have been the disappointment of the year, and Al Avila, their general manager, he needs to be fired, because this dude has been making awful decision after awful decision after awful decision in his tenure as general manager. He did a great job getting AJ Hinch to be the manager, but he's just been making terrible decisions on the personnel side, and he's been messing up and slowing down big time the Detroit Tigers rebuild. I think the Tigers will be absolutely stupid to trade Tariq Skubal, because Skubal has been one of their best pitchers, and the Tigers' problems this season has been their pitching staff. Casey Mize is gone with Tommy John surgery, and the other guys have been bouncing back and forth between the minors and the major leagues, and you finally have Skubal, who's been a consistent good starter for you, and he's been your number one pitcher as a lefty, and he's under control for the next 4 years under a cheap contract. So he could be one of the pieces that you rebuild your team with, alongside Spencer Torkelson and all the other guys that you have, Riley Green as well, on your ball club. So I think Detroit should they need to hold on to Skubal. I think if they are to make a move, it's probably to trade Robbie Grossman. It's probably to trade a lot of their guys that are free agents after the year. I would even entertain trading their closer, Gregory Soto, because he's been really good, and I think he's only under team control for the next 2 years. But Detroit what they need to do is they need to start off by firing out Avila. That's the one move that you have to do, and you have to hire a general manager that AJ Hinch wants to work with. Because if I'm not mistaken, AJ Hinch, Loro, Bennett, Chardot, and Taylor has a clause in his contract that allows him to opt out after this year. And if he's not satisfied with where Detroit is heading, and if he's not satisfied with the moves that Al Avila is making for the Detroit Tigers, he's going to opt out and leave. And there's a lot of great managerial openings that are open right now or are going to be open, like Philly, Angels, Toronto, that AJ Hinch could just jump ship to. So Detroit, they got to make the roster better if they want AJ Hinch to stay, or else AJ Hinch will absolutely be gone in the offseason.
He shouldn't be gone in the offseason. I kind of think that the Tigers should fire Al Avila here first. But Isaiah, now get to your San Francisco question here.
About the Giants, I think the Giants, I don't know what to make of the Giants. They're a mediocre team who's not too bad to tank or not too great to be championship contenders. They're just stuck in the middle. We all knew that their 100-win season last year, we knew that was a fluke, and we knew that they were going to drop to where everybody predicted them to drop, and you've seen it this year. They are 2 games under 500. I feel like they are more of a 500 ball club than they are a 107-win team. I just think they got lucky last year. Everything just worked for them, and now they're seeing that what they really are a 500-win ball club. And I think that for the Giants, I think their problems, the reason why they're having problems, it's not because of their players. It's because of Gabe Kapler. And I think that's why the Giants, if I'm the Giants, and it would be such a bold move because he won 107 games last year for them, but I would fire Gabe Kapler because I think Gabe Kapler, he's the most lifeless manager I've ever seen. Like, this dude is a robot. He is a human robot. And, the reason why the Giants are stuck where they are, it's because this guy can't fire them up. He hasn't gotten ejected in his time as the manager of the San Francisco Giants. He doesn't have that fire in him. When things are going bad, you need a manager like a Joe Girardi or a Bruce Bochy or a Joe Madden that can come in and fire guys up and cuss people out and get them fired up. Gabe Kapler is always like, oh, everything's going to be good. We're going to move on to tomorrow. He reminds me a lot of Vance Joseph with the Denver Broncos, just too laid back and just chill. So I think Gabe Kapler is one of the biggest problems for the Giants. And I think that, he's got to go out there and, get ejected. Go get ejected and go fire your clubhouse up, because right now there's no fire in that clubhouse. There's no life in that clubhouse. And I think that's where the problem starts with the Giants. I think the Giants, they're in a tough spot because they are only 3 games back of the wild card, but they have bad issues on defense in the infield and the outfield. Their pitching's not that good. I think the Giants, I think they should sell, because I think that it would be good for their future if they did sell, because I think that they are a mediocre ball club right now. With the pieces that they have in place, and Belt, Crawford, and all those guys are going to continue to get older and older and older, and the young guys like Joey Bart haven't really shown much for the San Francisco Giants.
And what about you, Taylor and Ben? Do you think the Tigers should trade Tariq Skubal, and should the Giants be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? So this question's both of you. I'm going to say, Taylor, you can go first.
Well, like Isaiah said, Tariq Skubal is definitely he is a stud on the mound for the Detroit Tigers. And I think this is definitely a guy to build your pitching staff around. And then, of course, as far as the Tigers, everyone else, Miguel Cabrera is, I think this is his final season. He's going to retire at the end. And also, all the rest of the guys, they haven't been performing up to expectations, like Isaiah said when it was his turn. But Tariq Skubal is definitely a guy you should be building your pitching staff around. While everyone else has not been doing so good, Skubal has definitely been, the bright spot. And honestly, to get rid of him, I think would just be dumb on the part of the Tigers. Now, as far as the Giants, they're I don't know because they're they're not so they're not the team that they were back in last decade, but at the same time they're not that bad enough to tank because you still have like Isaiah mentioned the youngsters like Joey Bart and Mike Yastrzemski is getting better all the time. But the pitching staff, I don't think they've had a good pitching staff ever since you remember last decade when they had Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain, Barry Zito, all those guys. And but the Giants, I think they're probably going to. I don't think they're going to be neither buyers nor sellers. I think they're probably just gonna stay put with their current lineup. Or if they might make a deal or two around the deadline, but I think they're going to be neither buyers nor sellers because I think the lineup they have is fine as it is, but of course, they just they're just that. I just think they're stuck in the middle for right now.
Anyways, Isaiah, this comment's for you. And Callan McClurg says, how about them Tigers winning the AL Central, Isaiah Leong? Ha, ha, ha. And Callan McClurg is getting on you again, Isaiah.
I don't think I will ever live to see the end of me picking Detroit to win the AL Central. I mean, my gosh, like I know that video is out there somewhere, but every game that Detroit plays, it's just making that take look worse and worse by the minute.
All right, Ben, I'm going to go to you. So do you think the Tigers should trade Tariq Skubal? And do you think the Giants should be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline?
This might be a little bit of a shock, but I do think that the Tigers should entertain a trade for Tariq Skubal. And the reason why is this. I think that there's a lot of teams out there that are still looking for a couple pitchers that can maybe help them go over the top. In their rotation, you look at a team like at the Atlanta Braves or a team like the Cardinals or a team like the Blue Jays. I think that a guy like Skubal, I think that the Tigers should entertain the offer. Now, I think the smart thing is to keep him to kind of build around him, but I wouldn't be shocked if they moved on from either. Some guys to look out for on the market, especially for my Red Sox. A couple of guys I would be very interested to look at are a couple names because the Red Sox have really needed some help in their bullpen big time. And the Tigers have some guys that can really help despite even the Red Sox kind of having a very tough season. But for teams that are looking for, bullpen help for contending teams, look out for a guy like Gregory Soto, Andrew Chafin, Joe Jimenez, three guys that could be very good and helpful for a team down the road. And then some infielders or utility guys like a Jonathan Scope, a Harold Castro, even like some outfield catching up with Eric Haas. Another guy, too, to look out for is Michael Fulmer and Robbie Grossman. So the Tigers are going to go full on. This will help a lot of teams that, might need a help, whether it's through the pitching market or, an infielder, outfielder, too. Heck, maybe they'll even just, if a team really wants to ask for a guy like Javi Baez, I know that was probably far-fetched from now. I know Miggy's going to be retiring, so nobody's going to want him. So, but I think, young guy out there, controllable. I think the biggest name to look out for that'll get moved, though, is Gregory Soto. I think Gregory Soto is a very good reliever when he's on. I know that he's had some concerned walk numbers, but this guy's been an all-star the last, couple years, and he has very good stuff. So, a team like, obviously like the Dodgers, of course, would, be awesome with a guy on the back of a guy like Gregory Soto. Very electric stuff. Southpaw. A team like, the Yankees, obviously, it's painful for me to say, but I know that they've kind of, after Michael Caine went down, unfortunately, he'll of course be a very good guy. Gregory Soto is going to be a very good wild card for a team they'll get. I really like what he has in his stuff. But there's some other guys that can pitch too, especially like Chafin and Jimenez. But yeah, I do think in terms of Skubal, that's the biggest name out there. I think that the Tigers will keep him, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets moved either.
All right, folks. With that being said, it's been a great show. We're about to call it a night. That is going to do it here for Sports Weekly. For Isaiah Leung, Taylor Agata, Chardol, and Ben, I'm Loro signing off for now. You guys have a wonderful evening.